You know that moment when your whole world cracks. But instead of screaming, you just go silent? That was me the night I realized my husband wasn't really mine anymore. We'd been together for 12 years. Not perfect, but stable. Or at least I thought so. We had routines, inside jokes, shared bank accounts, dinner every Friday night at the same Italian place. From the outside, we looked like a solid couple. But sometimes, silence in a marriage is louder than fights. It started small. Missed calls, unexplained overtime, a cologne I didn't recognize clinging to his shirts. You don't want to believe it at first. You convince yourself he's just tired, that work's been stressful. You become your own gaslighter because admitting the truth feels like setting your own house on fire. But then I found her earring, a delicate gold hoop tucked under the passenger seat of his car. Not mine, too cheap, too new. When I held it between my fingers, my hands didn't shake. I didn't cry. I just stared at it like it was evidence in a crime scene, because in a way it was. That's when something inside me switched. Not rage, not sorrow, just clarity. I realized I'd been living in his story, supporting his dreams, tolerating his moods, forgiving his mistakes. Now it was time to start living in mine. But I wasn't going to scream or throw things. That's not how you win. Real revenge isn't loud. It's silent. It's methodical. It's the art of making someone watch their world crumble, piece by piece, while you walk away untouched. So I started planning, quietly, patiently. At first I acted normal, smiled when he came home, cooked his favorite meals, listened to his lies about late meetings. Meanwhile, I created a new email, address, one he didn't know existed, and slowly started transferring small amounts of money from our joint account into a new one. Nothing suspicious, just enough that it wouldn't trigger a bank alert. Every morning before he woke up, I ran. I'd never been much of a runner before, but now I needed the focus, the control. Each mile I covered was another layer of calm settling over me. He thought I was trying to lose some weight. In reality, I was training him for freedom. A month later, I went through his phone, not because I needed proof. I already knew, but because I wanted names, dates, patterns. He wasn't just cheating with one woman. There were two. One from work. One, disturbingly, a friend of his cousin. Both of them thought they were special. Both believed his stories about being unhappy at home. Men like him always recycle the same script. I screenshotted everything, texts, photos, even a hotel booking confirmation, and stored them in a hidden drive. I didn't plan to use it publicly. No need to humiliate myself by airing our mess online. This wasn't about exposing him. It was about control. I was going to end it on my terms. He traveled often for work, which made things easier. During his next trip, I contacted a realtor and quietly started looking for apartments. I told her I needed something small, peaceful, with good morning light. I found one, a simple 2-bedroom with white walls and a balcony, overlooking a quiet park. I signed the lease under my maiden name. He had no idea. By the time he returned from his business trip, I had everything arranged. New bank account, new place, new start. I still slept beside him every night, pretending nothing had changed. Sometimes he'd roll over and murmur, "Love you, babe," half asleep. I'd smile faintly in the dark and think, "You'll miss me when the silence hits," because silence, when it replaces love, is deafening. 2 weeks before his birthday, he mentioned he'd be going on another trip, a 3-day conference. Perfect. While he was away, I started phase 2. I packed my essentials, clothes, jewelry, important documents, and moved them quietly into my new apartment. I told him I was spring cleaning whenever he asked why boxes were missing. I sold a few of our shared items online under a fake profile, small things. He wouldn't immediately notice. A watch he never wore, an old tablet, a few collectible bottles from his bar shelf. Each sale added to my new account. Every day, I checked my reflection and saw the calm version of myself I hadn't met in years. No tears, no begging, no drama. Just precision. When the day finally came, it was raining. Funny how the weather always seems to match your mood during endings. He kissed me goodbye in the morning, suitcase in hand, completely oblivious. I watched his car disappear down the street, took a deep breath, and whispered, "Game over." I spent the rest of the day clearing the house. Not out of sadness, but with methodical focus. I left only what belonged to him. The kitchen looked hollow. The closets echoed. The drawers were empty except for a single note I left on the counter. It said, "You were right. I was never enough for the person you pretended to be, but I'm more than enough for the life I'm about to live." Then I locked the door and walked away. I didn't block his number. I didn't delete him from social media. I didn't have to. He would eventually see everything. My new apartment. My new friends. The quiet happiness radiating from every photo. That's a kind of punishment no confrontation can match. Because guilt and regret don't fade when there's no one left to argue with. The first few days after I left were quiet, almost too quiet. I expected a call that night, maybe a string of angry messages or desperate apologies, but my phone stayed silent. Part of me wondered if he hadn't noticed yet. Then I smiled. Of course he hadn't. Men like him don't notice the absence of love, only the absence of comfort. When he finally did call, 2 days later, it was chaos. "Where are you? What the hell is this?" His voice cracked between anger and disbelief. I could almost hear the echo of the empty house behind him. I didn't answer. He texted next. Paragraphs, threats, accusations. Then finally, "Please, we can fix this. You're overreacting. Let's talk." That one made me laugh. Overreacting. The word men always use when women finally act. I waited until the next morning to reply. My message was short. "There's nothing left to talk about. Take care of yourself." Then I turned off my phone for 2 full days. When I turned it back on, the silence that followed wasn't unsettling. It was liberating. I didn't want to destroy him publicly. That would have been too easy, and it would have tied me to his mess. Instead, I wanted him to destroy himself. The same way he'd quietly destroyed our marriage. Through small, careless actions. And the best way to do that? Let him face consequences he couldn't pin on me. So I started with the one thing he valued most, his image. He worked in a field where reputation mattered. Networking, trust, appearances. I didn't have to expose him. I just had to withdraw my silence strategically. I reached out to one of his coworkers, someone I trusted, and casually mentioned that we'd separated. No drama, no details. Just a calm statement followed by, "I wish him well, but we're taking time apart." That one sentence traveled faster than fire in dry grass. By the end of the week, everyone at his office knew. And since people can't resist filling in blanks, rumors started to bloom. Whispers about infidelity, about money issues, about something she found. I didn't confirm or deny any of it. Truth is, I didn't have to. Silence once again did the heavy lifting. Meanwhile, I focused on building me. I started freelancing online. Work. I used to put off because he thought it was just a hobby. Turns out I was good at it. Within a month, I was earning enough to live comfortably. I also signed up for pottery classes. There was something poetic about creating new shapes out of broken clay. My new apartment began to feel like a reflection of my inner world. Quiet, uncluttered, deliberate. The kind of space where peace actually has room to breathe. Every morning, I made coffee and watched the sunrise from my balcony. I didn't realize how long it had been since I'd actually seen a sunrise without rushing to make breakfast or iron shirts. Freedom, I learned, isn't loud or dramatic. It's soft. It's steady. It's the ability to sit in silence without feeling small. 2 months passed before I saw him again. It wasn't planned. I was leaving a cafe when I spotted him across the street. Same suit, same expensive watch, but he looked thinner, tired. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. He noticed me almost instantly. For a moment, he just froze. Then he crossed the street like someone walking through fog. "Hey," he said, voice hesitant. "You look different." "I am," I replied. We stood there for a second. The world buzzing around us. Cars, chatter, footsteps. He looked at me like someone realizing too late that they'd set their own house on fire. "I messed up," he said quietly. "Can we at least talk?" I smiled. Not cruelly, just with finality. "There's nothing left to say. You made your choices. I made mine." He looked down, then back up, his eyes glistening. "I didn't think you'd actually leave." That line, that admission, was everything I needed. Because that's the core of men like him. They don't believe you'll leave until you already have. I didn't tell him where I lived or what I was doing now. I didn't even ask how he was managing. I just said, "Take care," and walked away. I didn't look back, but I could feel his eyes on me. Like he was finally seeing me, truly seeing me for the first time. A few weeks later, I heard from mutual friends that he'd been struggling. The work affair ended messily. She'd found out he was seeing someone else at the same time. The cousin's friend? She'd moved to another city, and the whispers at work had started to hurt his standing. Promotions he'd expected never came. Invitations to client dinners dried up. No one knew exactly why. Just that something in his life had gone wrong. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. I simply smiled and thought, karma doesn't always need a witness. One night, months later, I stood on my balcony again, wineglass in hand, and looked out over the quiet park below. My life wasn't glamorous. It wasn't easy, but it was mine. I thought about the version of me who once begged for scraps of attention from a man who barely saw her. I wanted to tell her, "You'll get here. You'll get to peace." Because sometimes revenge isn't about payback. It's about taking back the energy you wasted on someone who never deserved it, and turning it into something beautiful. He probably still wonders how I did it, how I left so quietly, so completely, that there was nothing left to chase. That's the beauty of it. The best revenge is simply disappearing from the story they thought they owned. Epilogue, clean closure. A year later, he sent me one last message. "I hope you're happy." I stared at it for a while, then typed back, "I am." And that was it. No anger, no gloating, no lingering bitterness. Just peace. Because sometimes walking away isn't losing. It's the most powerful move you can make.